Welcome to another episode of Geeks Corner. Thanks for joining us. Let's get into the news. So over the past few days, we've seen Hey, the email client, in a lot of media going on about how Apple has refused to accept their updates to their application, stating that they should offer in-app purchases and therefore pay Apple a 30% fee. However, they actually allowed Hey to put their initial application in with no in-app purchase, and it basically just has a login and a forgot password option, and then users use the Hey website where they can actually pay for the subscription. So Apple has said that they shouldn't have authorized the first release to go into the App Store, but until they put in the in-app purchase, then they will not approve any updates, and they may even look at removing the application if that update isn't added very soon. So it's interesting to see how that's going on. And Hey CEO has actually put a written letter out to Apple CEO on there to say basically how they feel. So if you are interested in that, we'll put a link in the description to the Apple Insider cover on that one. Apple has confirmed that iOS 13 is now running on 81% of all devices, and iPadOS adoption hits 73%, and those figures come in just ahead of Apple's WWDC 2020 on Monday, where they will be announcing iOS 14 ready for about a September release. And we have covered that on our other podcast and also our website, and I'll put links to both of those in the description if you wanted to check those out. Apple has reclosed 11 US retail stores due to COVID-19 spikes. They actually opened up their stores a few weeks ago and then closed them due to the demonstrations, and then they've reopened those, but now they are looking at closing those stores as the virus continues to rise again in the US. So it's interesting to keep an eye on that, and again we will have a link where you can check out which stores are affected. Today's sponsor is private internet access. Did you know that every time you connect to the internet, your ISP can actually see what you're browsing? Did you know that every time you're out and about and you connect to a public Wi-Fi, you're at risk of being targeted by malicious people, and they're able to see not only the sites you're browsing, but potentially your passwords as well? Well, private internet access has your back. When you browse online with this VPN, you're able to encrypt connections and stay safe. So why not check out private internet access? They have some low monthly prices for under $4 a month. You go to geekscorner.co.uk/VPN. Thanks Private Internet Access for sponsoring today's episode. On to other news now. Disney Plus has actually stopped offering their 7-day free trial, and this comes ahead of the hotly anticipated July 3rd premiere of Hamilton, and that's going to be a movie that's based on the hit Broadway musical. And Disney says in a statement that they have ended it as they continue to investigate other options and offerings for free trials as well. So it's interesting to see that they've ended those free trials ahead of this and highly anticipated show as well. And obviously, if you haven't become a subscriber, you are now going to have to pay at least the full month if you wanted to check that out. Google has made it easier now for users to deregister their number from the new RCS chat. Basically, there's a new form that you can fill in, and you can pop in your number, and then a verification code comes along, and you tap verify, and then it will deregister your device. And this was first spotted by Android Police. And if you do want to check out RCS, that's looking like it's going to be an iMessage competitor as well. And staying on with Google News, Google has now started rolling out a compact assistant, and the panel that basically pop-ups once you trigger for the assistant is about a third shorter than previously, and that actually invokes now as well access to the lens, voice and keyboard, which are going to remain unchanged as well. But it's good to see that Google are looking at reducing that size, and I've actually covered a jailbreak tweak that actually does the same sort of thing with Siri instead of taking up the whole screen, which is actually quite annoying. it is really useful to have that on a smaller screen as well, and it just looks aesthetically better in my opinion. Now, Google's been rumoured to be working on the AirDrop answer for Android, which basically is nearby sharing, and as the name suggests, you're able to share things to your devices when they're close by, and it looks like they're almost ready to debut on Windows, Mac and Chrome OS as well. Now, I personally love AirDrop, and it'd be really good to see Google actually add that feature for Android users as well, because that's a long time been needed. Google's also going to be dropping assistant support for Philips Hue's first generation bridge on June 22nd. So you are going to need the second bridge if you want to have that support continue, so you can then access and control your Philips Hue light. Now, I personally use Philips Hue, however, their bridge and their bulbs themselves are not very cheap. They do get some offers on Amazon and sometimes their website, but that's very few and far between, and I do highly recommend you look at the IKEA option, and I've used those as well, and I've got to be fair, they're on par, if not better in some cases as well. So if you're interested in having a smart home, definitely check that out. Now, unfortunately, you're unable to escape the coronavirus news, and this time it's going to be on the UK government, and they've actually done a massive U-turn and are now actually going to use Google and Apple's technology for their COVID-19 tracing app. Now, back on May the 5th, we actually wrote an article saying how it was actually doomed to fail, the way the NHS and the UK government wanted to basically have this application. It was a massive privacy violation concerns and just overall a battery drain, and just wasn't going to work. And finally, after spending thousands, it now turns out that they're actually going to do, like I say, a U-turn and then actually enable these features. Now, I know a lot of people have covered how they actually don't want this tracing ability and they're not happy that it's on their devices. And again, we've already covered how you can actually disable that on the iPhone. However, just to let you all know that if you are concerned about that, if you don't install the tracing app, then these things are actually off by default. That's the good thing when Apple works on something, they are really privacy focused, and so them and Google have teamed up. Personally, it is a really good feature, and if they do base it on Apple and Google's API, then I would look at possibly installing that application. However, until that's something I personally won't be willing to do. And finally today, guys, since Apple acquired Dark Sky and they dropped Android support, AccuWeather has now become one of the better choices for the weather app for Android devices. And today, AccuWeather has released a new beta update that debuts a Wear OS application, as well as the app on your iPhone. It too is going to get an upgrade. So fear not, if you did like Dark Sky, AccuWeather has actually come to the rescue as well. So that's it for today, guys. I hope you've enjoyed, and we will catch you on the next one.